Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Okay. Good evening. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Look forward to having a great show with you tonight. I've got a great guest tonight, Roberta Vigilance, and she's going to be sharing something very valuable for you and your businesses. So I can't wait to get started. Roberta, let me bring you on. But I've known Roberta for a few years now, and she's been working on some great stuff, helping people get sponsorship, and she's actually helped me out as well. So definitely, she does some valuable work. So, hey, Roberta, how you doing tonight?
Fine, Andrew. How are you?
Excellent. Running slightly behind, but it was due to a sponsor. My sponsor had a networking reception for something they were doing, so they invited me, so I had to show up.
That is awesome.
But it was good. It's always good to connect and build the relationship, and the sponsorship's a two-way street. They add value for you, and you add value for them. So
absolutely, showing up is something great. I believe they will remember that.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah. I know a fair amount about you, but you know more about you. So I'm going to have you take a minute and sort of just talk a little bit about your journey. Definitely people like to know sort of where you're coming from so that they can, better appreciate what you do.
Absolutely. My journey started over 2 decades ago as I was looking for money to cover the cost of my event, something that I was really passionate about back then. Was helping a community get into the entertainment industry without having to sleep their way into the industry. So what I did was use my connections that I made on a celebrity project that I worked on, and coordinated my first show, which was called the Entertainment Industry Network Seminar. And that show showcased up and coming models and talents. But before we even get to the show, I needed money. So what I did was I went into my community, asked business to invest in my event. They all said yes. And then I went to corporate America, asked them to invest, and they kicked me out of their office. And coming from a background in sales, I realized that something was off. Of course, you deal with no's as you do with sponsorship, but I realized that I was using the wrong language. It wasn't invest. The word was sponsor. Would you sponsor my event? I was offering value at that time. I told these companies, listen, what I'll do in exchange for you funding my event was to get you up close and personal with your target audience. And that's what I sold them on. So after I learned the language, I was able to secure corporate sponsors. I believe the first one was Adidas. Along the journey, I picked up, you don't always have to ask for, you don't always get monetary sponsorship. You can also get the in-kind, but I picked up corporate sponsors such as, which is a national brand, as Rite Aid, Tommy Hilfiger, and the list goes on. And that's pretty much how I got started in event sponsorship, looking for money and stumbling into the industry. I taught myself how to secure sponsors. Of course, I picked up the language, mixed it with my background in sales, and I was able to create success from that. And I just wanted to bring this message back into my community to say, hey, this is how you do it. And then it just snowball into, wow, I have the foundation. This is how it's done. So this is where we are today.
Okay, excellent. So, definitely everybody has an interesting journey. The world's always changing, your business is always changing. So even given when you came in, things have evolved a lot with sponsorship and kind of how sponsorship works and people. But, before we dig into that too much, I want to just take a sec to share a little bit about what the Small Business Pro University is, because, we do this as one of the initiatives for the university. So just short video on the university, and then I'll be back talking small business with Roberta Vigilance. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded the Small Business Pro University to help business owners break that cycle by empowering them with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead their companies more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've worked one-on-one with more than 1,000 business owners and taught tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a Navy officer, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to grow revenue, increase profit, and obtain financing faster and easier. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include more than 100 expert-led multimedia courses and training programs with more than 2,500 lessons. The Small Business Pro Network, our private community for entrepreneurs. Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, our weekly live stream and podcast. Advanced Learning Institutes focused on revenue generation, profit maximization, and capital acquisition. And the Power Breakfast series, in-person events where business owners learn best practices, enjoy great networking, and gain useful knowledge. If you want to sell more and make more, you need to check out Small Business Pro University. Visit our website at www.sbprou.com. All right, good evening. Welcome back to Leadership Live. I'm here with Roberta Vigilance, talking small business. Our topic tonight is how to secure sponsors for your events successfully. Very important topic in this day and age. Even if you don't have events now, that may be something you want to consider in the future. And it's not just live events that could be considered events. So, Roberta, definitely starting out. I like to start with the basics. So, what's a sponsor? How would you define a sponsor? And and that someone might sponsor event, and also, what types of things are sponsorable?
So a sponsor is simply a supporter of of an event, but it doesn't end there. A supporter that gives funding to receive something for that funding. So it's a give and take relationship. A sponsor can be any entity, from a corporate brand to a local, small, medium-sized business, to an individual, to an organization, to the government. It doesn't matter. It's an entity. It's a supporter of an event. And as far as what is sponsorable, it could be anything that you can think of, from a fundraiser to a project that you want to launch, to even a book can be sponsors, right? You can get a sponsor in your book, and the reason why a sponsor will want to connect with a book or any other type of event is because they want to get in front of your target audience. So let me just back up a bit. If you were to Google what is an event, it would say it's something of importance. So whatever that thing of importance is, it could be for example, many years ago, it was a young lady, her husband or fiance, was a cyclist, and he got into a serious accident, didn't make it, and she actually got his memorial sponsored. So it doesn't matter. Think of anything. It could be your business. It could be your children's party. Anything can be sponsored because it has an event. Take me, for example, my real estate course was sponsored. So it could be an audience of 1, 1,000, 1,000,000. If you were to think of some of the large games that you see on television or you've attended, those things also have been sponsored. So sponsors want to, again, get in front of your target audience, and they want to do that for many different reasons, including gaining access to your network so that they can, talk about whatever it is or promote whatever it is that they have. It could be what I did for Tommy Hilfiger, shift of perspective when a rumor came out that he didn't make his clothing for a certain demographic. So they just really want to get in front of your audience. And sponsorship, the foundation, it hasn't changed. What happened, it needed to be defined. And I believe I contribute a lot to defining sponsorship, not tooting my own horn, but it's just how it happened. So what I mean, the foundation hasn't changed. Like, what is sponsorship, right? It's not a donation, as some people are calling it today. The language that, yeah, definitely over time, right? Language, it changes, right? So, but it's still, some common word in there. And then the third thing is selling, writing a good, concise, clear sponsorship proposal.
Okay, great. So now, when people think of sponsorship, a lot of times they think of nonprofits. Is that right? Or, what kind of organizations can be sponsored?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. A lot of people, and that's where the trouble comes in, right? So a lot of people think that you need to be a nonprofit. Again, as an individual, my sponsorship course was sponsored. So you can be a nonprofit, a for-profit, an individual. Like, it really doesn't matter. It's about how your event, one, getting that sponsor in front of their target audience. Your whatever your event is about, if you find a brand or an entity that aligns with your mission or whatever it is, your message, and those are the entities that you would target for sponsorship. So it really doesn't matter. It's a big misconception. What happens, I think a lot of it has to do with corporate, because if you were to call a corporate brand for sponsorship, a lot of time they want to send you to their donation department. And, it's a funny play. It's unethical, first of all, what they do. Some corporation only wants to sponsor nonprofit organization. And why is that? Is because they can use some of that. They can use the money as a write-off, right, to save on their tax. In addition to, they gain marketing benefits, right? Whether it's lead generation, whether it's sales, change in perspective, whatever it is. So it's like double dipping. They're getting a write-off on one end, and on the other end, they're making money, or they are achieving their goals. So it's two different things. And of course, when it comes to getting the money, the property, which is the event organizer, they are a nonprofit. They really are not going to say anything, because why? They are getting the money. But I tell you this, the larger events, can get away with things like that. But when it comes to the smaller events, you just have to make sure that your tax is in order. And I know, Andrew, you had a lot of guests on your show, and I would say whoever does taxes, I think event organizer need to kind of reach out to them to make sure that their taxes in order when they deal with sponsorship funding, because where are you putting your money, right? I work with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, so a lot of them don't necessarily have, not a lot, but some of them, few of them, don't necessarily have a business account. So where are you putting that money? You just have to be careful with things like that when it comes to time to be audited. But you don't need to be a nonprofit organization. It's that I can stand on the mountaintop and always say, stop calling it sponsorship donation. It is not a grant. And I've been saying this for years. I'm sorry I stopped teaching, which I just went back into the teaching part of it. I think that in every corporation, they should have a class talking about what sponsorship is, because I hear people talking, but I work in the philanthropy department and I do sponsorship. It's like, no, you don't. That's not what you do. But I was so intrigued at I forgot which brand it was, and the person at the front desk, they are likely not to know what you're talking about when you ask, can you speak with this person who is in charge of sponsorship? They'll say, oh, donation, and they'll transfer you there. But this day I was so blessed to speak to a young lady in the philanthropy department, and she said, that's not what we do here. That's not what I do, and not the sponsorship. And I'm like, yes, it rarely happens, but I think corporation needs to do better.
Okay. So now, you're talking about sponsorship, but there's sort of a sponsorship language. There's ways you're saying certain words. There's certain words you should say, certain words you maybe shouldn't say. Definitely. How can people learn about that, or what are some of the, you talked about sponsorship versus donations is important, but you also mentioned a property, right? Or what's a property? It's not real estate, right? So when you talk about sponsorship, what do you mean by a property, and how does that relate to sponsorship?
Yeah, absolutely. So a property is a sponsorship seeker, and the more higher you go into corporate sponsors, the more the language becomes kind of niche. So for now, we'll say that the property, which is the event planner, aka the event organizer, the sponsorship seeker, is also called a property at a certain level. So again, most of the and that's one thing that I have placed in my book, which I have to update and put it back on the market, is just understanding those language, those words such as property. Another word is assets, what assets you have, meaning, and this is very important, and you probably asked me this as we go in, we can dive even deeper into this part, is what value are you bringing to the table? What type of assets do you have to offer a sponsor? So some terms you really should know, but I'll tell you this, when you are soliciting or targeting small to medium-sized businesses, the terms are not so much, it's not necessary, I would say, per se, just keep it basic. But when it comes to the corporate sponsors, those are some terms that you should know, especially if you are looking to target too corporate sponsors outside of your area, and it's not etched in stone, because I would want to say outside of the area, maybe the language might change. I cannot confirm that part, but one thing I can confirm is that the structure of sponsorship, it remains the same for those who really understand sponsorship and operate under the sponsorship guidelines.
Okay, excellent. So first, we appreciate everybody's comments and questions. And we actually have a question here from Adrian. So, it's a pretty long question, but it's a good question. So I'll read it out. Can sponsorship be extended to items for a specific demographic, or would that be a donation? She works with seniors and would love to gift them items that they need. She has a for-profit business and is wondering if she could get a sponsor for blankets and other items for her seniors. And we'll take it down so it doesn't cover us up, but Roberta, you want to take that one?
Okay, so I hope I understand the question correctly. When does it become a donation? I think that is what she's asking. So there, you can actually get, I don't know, Bed Bath and Beyond or some other, maybe a blanket company, to sponsor those items, right? It's not a donation. That would be considered an in-kind sponsorship, which actually has monetary value, because that sponsor had to pay to get those blankets made, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's monetary value. So that would be considered in-kind sponsorship. So what you would give that sponsor in exchange maybe is some media coverage. Of course, you'll have to quantify the cost. I don't know how many blankets, whatever that cost is, you want to give that sponsor media coverage that's valued the same amount. We start with the same amount. It doesn't stop there. Times two times more than what that value is. So it might be media, have them speak in the media. It might also be inviting the family of those seniors to speak with those sponsors so they can reorder more blanket. And now that can actually lead to sales. So let's say the blanket, it's $600, all right? With the media value, let's say that's $600, right? In media value, and then another set of sales comes in, that might be, let's say, another 600. So they cleared that 600, made 600, and for a lifetime span. Let's say this happened on another 5 years, it would be 600 times whatever time frame that takes place. So that's a sponsorship. It's not donation. Donation would be take the blankets thank you. And then you say, thank you for the blankets. And that's it. But with sponsorship, it's an exchange. And I would like to put it like this. It's like bartering. It's exchanging value for value. That's the simplest way that I can explain sponsorship. So it's not someone giving you something and you're saying, okay, thank you, write it off. You're saying, here is something back for what you have given to me, times 2, times 10, or whatever it is.
Excellent. Great question. Thanks for sharing that. And definitely appreciate your response on that. So what I want to do is we're going to take a minute because next week is actually a really special show for us. So I want to just share a little bit about that. And then we're going to come back with Roberta, talk more about sponsorship, and then talk about a great example. So you can really get to see, what it really looks like in a specific case. So we'll see you in a second. What significant business developments have occurred over the last 4 years? The advent of AI for mainstream use, interest rates increasing by more than 5%, and the rise of the virtual office and the gig economy. But most importantly, over 200 episodes of Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business, have aired. These episodes have shared a trove of valuable knowledge for entrepreneurs on how they can sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth faster and easier. To commemorate this milestone, we're having a special live stream episode on October 29th, highlighting the best of last year, along with special guests and giveaways. You don't want to miss it. Join us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube to participate live at 8:05 Eastern on Tuesday, October 29th. Okay, we're back here at Leadership Live with 805 and here with Roberta Vigilance. She's an event sponsorship consultant extraordinaire, and we're going to talk about how to secure sponsors successfully. So, given that it's my show, and I'm gonna cheat. Roberta's working on a sponsorship package for me. So, why don't we talk about what you're doing for me? Because I think that'll be helpful for me, and that'll also be helpful for the audience. So, definitely, what's the first thing when you start with someone and when you start with me before you do a sponsorship package is what? So how does it start? Where does it start?
Yeah, so it starts with the event itself. I want to learn about the event. I want to learn about the person as well. I want to find what assets they have, what value they can offer to the sponsor. I don't look on the outside, to find out who is sponsoring what and then come in and say, let me do this. It starts from within, believe it or not. It's funny how it mimics real life, but it starts from within. So another thing is how much funding my client needs. So how much money you're asking for. A lot of individuals, it's a mystery, believe it or not, they just don't know. And then we start to dive into, well, what type of value can we return to the sponsor, right? For what we're asking for. So before we contact anyone, you need to have a sponsorship proposal ready. If a person already have a sponsorship proposal, I try to learn the event through their proposal. A person like Andrew, who is very detailed and he has like a lot of information, you get the gist of what the event is about. It's just now, because you're so close to your event, you need an outsider to come in and see and kind of make it, condense it, make it concise, make it shorter, make it more potent, and also the expertise of what is it that you are offering your sponsor, and how are you explaining that. Not only having a gold, bronze kind of sponsorship proposal, but something that's value packed. What are you achieving? What are the sponsors spending their money on? So we start again from the very beginning of understanding what it is that the client has, to how we are going to get in the sponsorship proposal, to now let's find out who will make a good sponsor. In Andrew case, he knows who he wants to work with. In other individuals, they are just confused. It's kind of foggy. Sometimes it's not the right fit, whether it's sometimes it could be the budget. You might need 2 or 3 different sponsors, and not just go for that one corporate sponsor to get all of the money. And that's a long process it takes at times. So you might want to do the small and medium-sized businesses. From there, it's just, my client go and they contact the sponsors themselves if they need me to come in for that. It's not something that I necessarily do for them, but I do, encourage them and help them to come up with any answers or guidance that they need. But I don't go out to actually do it for them. It's something I used to do, but it's not what I do any longer.
Okay, so you sort of really start with a plan and developing a strategy, it sounds like. And every business is unique, so you got to draw out the details and information for it. So definitely failing the plan is planning to fail. So the first step in sponsorship, getting some sponsorships, is having a plan. So now, you mentioned before you talk to anybody, you should have a proposal. What's that proposal look like, and what's it supposed to do for you?
Absolutely. So when you get started, it's again understanding your event, understanding what's the purpose of your event, and what's the expected outcome of your event. Those two things are very important, because the sponsor can help you to achieve the expected outcome of your event. That's very important. When you have that sponsorship proposal, it's really there to tell the sponsor. It's really there to tell the sponsor how your event is going to benefit them. Now, to simplify this a bit, always, again, I'm going to say this again and again and again. It always starts with understanding your event, right? What's your event about? That of course includes the audience, and I can go into different details of all the demographic and all of that stuff, psychographic. But the first thing is really understanding your event, and that's all part of it. After that part is done, the proposal is to really tell the sponsor how are they going to benefit from what you have to offer them, right? Of course, as far as the fee, what am I getting from this sponsorship deal? How is it helping me to achieve my goal? How does it align with my belief? How does it align with my mission? So you go out to get those types of entities that align with your mission. So your sponsorship proposal, definitely one thing that you want to include in there, in any sponsorship professional that's on or sees in the future listening, is definitely letting them know when you want to receive that type of the funding that you are seeking. This kind of put an urgency on it to for those who actually read your sponsorship proposals. So without going into everything that goes into a sponsorship proposal, the purpose of that proposal, again, is to tell that sponsor what is in it for them, how are they going to benefit from your from giving you the funding that they're going to give to you.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, what I find is, sponsorship is almost like you're selling sponsorships. So, there has to be value there for someone to buy your sponsorship. And sometimes it's hard to picture that as a event person, because you're like, my event is great, or whatever. And I even in my training, I do training on getting business financing, and everybody thinks, oh, we should get financed. But then I do this little exercise called trading places, and I give them a scenario of someone who's looking for financing, and they rip that person to shreds. They're like, why don't they have this? I need to know this. But then you do that, but then you got to turn around. Okay, well, do you have that stuff when you're asking for money? So sometimes putting yourself in in the other person's shoes and looking at it as if you were them helps to give you some insight about what might be valuable to them. But a lot of times it's hard for you to do that yourself. So like Roberta, was helpful in like, she'd be like, well, what do your sponsors want? How are you going to benefit them? So, being able to do that can be helpful with your events. So,
absolutely. There must be a win-win. And I think that's one thing I've I stand on, and I stood on for many years to now, that it is a partnership that you are getting into. That's why it's so important to know, what's the value you're bringing. Your event, your event is definitely is great. I don't ever want to go in and change anyone, right? That's not what I want to do. My thing is, how do I mold you into having a win-win mentality and providing value to that sponsor in exchange for what you are asking for? Because once you return value, you then can keep that sponsor and grow the sponsorship, and then attract more sponsors. This way, you can generate more revenue, you can expand your event, you can make a profit. But I don't work with anyone who does not have a win-win mentality. People who go in and say, well, listen, I'm asking for this much, but they are not returning anything. Or this is really a turnoff when someone say, well, I already have sponsor, but it's just a little bit of money. And it's like, a little bit of money, you can take that. You already have that sponsor in your network, in your hand. You can take it and nourish it, prove to the sponsor how you actually return value and grow that sponsorship. So the sponsor has to win, and the organizer has to win as well. There must be a win-win.
Okay, excellent. And budgets are smaller now, and people are more more careful with how they invest their money in sponsorships and everything else. And even in the nonprofit, especially even in the nonprofit space, everything's becoming data driven. And one of the things that we worked on was my multi-channel digital exposure page, which I didn't have before. What is that, and how important is that?
Impressions and data is always good. It lets the sponsor knows who actually listened, who actually engage with their brand. So data is very important. That's one of the ways to measure the success or the process of the sponsorship. You have to too be very careful, because for a sponsor who's not savvy, or a sponsorship seeker who's not savvy, like you can say that you have 10,000 impression, but how many engage? And that's why I ask you the questions, right? You have a large mailing list, Andrew, but then we need to let the sponsor know what's your open rate. We just need to be transparent and realistic as possible, because sometimes they don't think about it, right? You have 1 million followers or 1 million likes, but then when you look at a video, you barely have 100 engagement. And it's okay, but we just need to be transparent with that sponsor, and that's all part of quantifying that amount, right? If we're asked, we can't say that this 60 people engaging I'm asking you for $10,000. So we just have to make it sense, and data is not a bad thing. It actually helps. And we can even say we are growing. This sponsorship can help us, grow the engagement. And that's when you want to outsource a team that is good at bringing in the engagement. So that's part of the budget. And those are things that you want to put into your budget when seeking sponsorship.
Excellent. So those are key pieces. So now, we got the digital piece. What else goes into a sponsorship package? What else should we be including there?
Okay. I can't wait till my book come out so I can tell it all in there. But definitely in the what I mentioned already, the value that you're bringing to the sponsor. Let's see. I want to cheat and look at my book and tell you. But let's see if I can think of one of the most important piece. Of course, you tell the sponsor who you are. It's not all about you. Don't write a whole book about yourself, but let the sponsor know, some things about your background, such, where's your event, or who, what, where, when, and why. Those things are important as well. Again, Andrew, I can write out a whole sponsorship proposal with the answer to that question. But I would just say the overall is to let the sponsor know how the event will benefit them. And another thing, if you want, you can put in there. Another thing you can put is the metrics. You can let them know how you're going to measure the success. I have something that I call the soft scale and the hard scale. And what I mean by that, you let the sponsor know, and this helps a lot. If you think about it, you are in a partnership and you want to, evaluate the partnership to know if it's working or not. And how do you do that? Well, within the sponsorship space, they have something with the tangible part, which I call, again, is the hard scale. You can do something as look to see if it moved the bar on the stock exchange market after the sponsorship. We're talking about, big games, right? It's like, whoa, stock exchange. But yes, when you look at big games, did that brand actually penetrate the market so much, or their target audience behind the scene at the game, did it cause such a ripple effect that it affected the stock market? So that's the tangible, what you can actually look and see. Then we have the shift scale. That's the intangible. That's what I did with Tommy Hilfiger, shifting the perspective, right? You can shift it to positive, or some people can even use sponsorship as a way to close their doors when they're leaving. They want to leave on a good note. So yes, we'll sponsor your event as the farewell. So you don't need a hard scale, something, numbers to actually, you don't need numbers to actually measure the success of it. So that's the bonus, I would say, to let the sponsor know that you have a metric to measure the success.
Okay. Excellent. So, definitely appreciate everybody's comments. So Corey, Dakisha, thanks for being here. And we have a question. Another question: how do you determine the amount to ask for, and what do you need? Especially when they ask you what do you need?
I love this question because it's a modest. It could be considered a modest question, and I always say ask for as much as you need. Just write it down. Write down everything that your event needs that has a cost. Everything, including staff, including profit, everything. Put it there, and then you can revisit your list, right? And then you say, well, listen, I know that I need a big box or a sound box or jumbo, whatever. I need that for my event, and it costs X amount of dollars. Well, then you can look at that company that provides that product or the service that you need and ask them to sponsor. So now you will remove that cost. You see, you remove that cost from your budget, because now you have that in-kind sponsorship. So I would say be as real as possible, because the last thing that you want to happen is that you ask for less than you need, and then you get stuck with your event. You can't implement your event because you don't have everything that you need. Now, the most important thing is, again, returning value, giving that sponsor value for what you're asking for. So if you have a $50,000 budget, let's say, you need to return at minimum $50,000 in value, because the sponsor wouldn't lose at $50,000. But the goal is to give them, again, 2 times, 4 times, whatever time that money that they gave to you, or that value that they give to you. So at times people ask for so much money, and they give a little. Well, listen, Roberta, we need X amount. Let's say we need 100,000 in sponsorship, but we have 100,000 people following us, and less than 30% engagement, right? So how's that sponsor really making their money, unless you are making back their money, unless you have a very unique plan, a strategic plan for them to make back that money. And then sometimes people are so modest, they give away a lot of benefits for a little bit of money. And of course, it's not a bad thing if that's what you want to do, but when you're just giving it away unconsciously, it's not attractive.
And no, I mean, that's a great point. Definitely, a lot of times we discount the value of what we have. And sponsors aren't necessarily looking for cash money. They're looking for many times value. which can be the equivalent of, a commercial, commercials or like other things that they would invest in. But one of the bad things about the live stream is it's only an hour, and an hour goes really fast. But I always like to ask our guests to leave us with the top 3 things we should take away from our conversation tonight, because we talked about a lot of different things, but people can many times only remember 3 things at once. So we want to give you the 3 things that you should take away from our talk tonight. But we're going to give Roberta a minute to think about that. And I'll share some things about my upcoming events that you may want to join us at, especially if you're in New Jersey. We've been doing our Power Breakfast events, meetings for entrepreneurs and business owners for over 12 years. And we have several sponsors, including Provident and Lakeland Bank. We also do the night before, we do a networking reception called the Power Network. So the Power Breakfast is going to be on November 8th at Park Avenue Club in Florham Park. And then the Power Network event is going to be on November 7th at the Montclair Brewery. So you're welcome to join us at either of those. And if you're not sure what they are, I'm going to just play a quick video about the Power Breakfast, and then we'll come back and hear the top 3 from Roberta. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Okay. All right. Good evening. I'm here with Roberta, Vigilance, talking about how to secure sponsors successfully. So, Roberta, what are the top 3 things we should take away from the conversation this evening?
Absolutely, Andrew. And before I jumped into those 3 things, I just want to say, with the commercial, I just want to add a little bit of add on to what you have mentioned. So yes, a sponsor would pay for the commercial, but let's think about what values that commercial added. What is it solving, right? Is that commercial to leads to a bigger picture for, let's say, visibility, or so? Yes. Or would that be under the umbrella of visibility? So the 3 takeaways, Andrew, is actually, if you think of ATM, so ATM, but this is UTM. Okay. The first one is understanding. Understand sponsorship. Understand sponsorship. Understand the 3 pillars. Once you understand the 3 pillars, you can build on these pillars. Those pillars includes what is sponsorship? How does it work? How does sponsorship work? The second is communication, because that's what changed it for me. I learned the sponsorship language, and here I am in the sponsorship realm. So communication. In this way, too, you can have a meeting of the mind with those sponsorship professionals who are savvy. Remember the lady on the phone who was like, listen, you're in the wrong department. Like, she knows her stuff. So you might run into someone who knows their stuff. Make sure you know your stuff too. And then the third pillar is selling. Just like you mentioned, Andrew, it is selling. You're selling your event to an entity that can benefit from what you have, right? And so that's the first one. The second, the T, is take action. Take action. It's not an overnight success thing. It's not a get rich quick scheme. So you have to follow up. Sometimes sponsors don't answer you. Sometimes they are out on maternity leave. It could be so many things. Don't always go for the corporate sponsors because, believe it or not, they're still getting their stuff together. Sometimes they don't even answer you. It's a shame. But to those who do, it's a process because sometimes they need to work with a team to get that sponsorship approved. So continue to take action. Don't let a rejection say, oh, sponsorship isn't working. It's a process. You have to respect their time. Sometimes they might have 10 sponsorship proposals, 100 coming their way. We don't know. So we want to continue we want to follow up. Definitely take action, follow up. And the M is to measure your activation. The activation meaning what is it that you, so for visibility, for example, Andrew mentioned doing a commercial. Let's measure what came out of that commercial. Did leads come out of it? Like, what was the purpose of you doing that commercial? Like what? So let's find out what that is, measure it, and then give that back to the sponsor. So not the ATM, but the UTM. Understand sponsorship, T, take action, and measure. And I have a bonus for you, is to nurture those relationships, grow it, increase the sponsorship, maximize the sponsorship. You already have the relationship, the sponsor in your hand. So grow it by returning value, showing them, proving that the sponsorship is a success. You make them successful, guess what? You can get more money. You can get more resource, right? It's like one hand washes the other, as they say. But truly, you have a good sponsorship partner, then most likely you can have them the following year. And try to get a long-term sponsorship as well. It's not always one event, one and done. You can go for long-term as well, a 1 year, 2 year, and even a lifetime sponsorship, believe it or not. Take it from me, it happens. There is a clause, Andrew. You can break away from the sponsorship if something changes. So if that sponsor, their goals and mission no longer aligns with yours, there's something in there. Again, you need to seek some type of a lawyer, or I know Corey was on here. He works with Legal Shield, but you find some type of lawyer where you can say, can you review this contract, get me out of this type of agreement, or you might have to get a full-time lawyer. I don't know, but that's the clause. So when it doesn't work,
Yep.
Yeah.
Separate. Okay. Excellent. So no, this is like super valuable. UTM. So understand, take action, and follow up, and measure your progress. You said the 3 pillars under understanding is key, as well as the follow-up is key, but it doesn't always have to be corporations. Follow up with corporations can be much harder because there's more people in the decision-making process. Whereas smaller organizations, there might just be one. But you still got to follow up, just like in sales. So definitely this has been great, Roberta. I wish we had more time, but I'm glad you're able to join us and share your expertise. Anything you want to leave us with before you go?
Absolutely. Every event can be sponsored. Trust the process. Learn about sponsorship. It's not that complicated. Just think of it Start from within. What do I have to offer? And then find those entities, whether it's corporation or small business, medium size, find those that align with what you have to offer, how you're going to help them. Just remember, it needs to be a win-win. And Andrew, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, great. No, I appreciate it. The audience appreciates it as well. In the chat, you probably saw, but just in case you didn't, we've got links to Roberta's LinkedIn profile. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out.
We don't know. Wait, let me insert that. Right now I'm speaking with LinkedIn about merging my LinkedIn profile. So I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes right now, but It might be LinkedIn Roberta Vigilance, but definitely one place individuals can find me is at my website at my first and last name.com, robertavigilance.com.
Okay.
Please find me over there if you have any questions.
Okay, so I'll add this right now too. So Roberta's website, and thanks a lot. And then if you want to meet Roberta in person, she's coming down to my next Power Breakfast on November 7th and 8th. So nobody's listening. No. So it's a great opportunity to meet her as well. So thanks again, and hang on for a little bit as I close things out, and we'll go from there. All right. So definitely, thanks again for tuning in tonight. I always appreciate your comments and questions. Always keep them coming. As you know, we got some big events coming up. Definitely, if you can join us next Tuesday, we've got Leadership Live at 8:05, our next show, and it's our 5th year anniversary. So you're welcome to join us there. Also, we have the Power Breakfast as well as the Power Networking event on November 7th and 8th. Feel free to join us there as well. I've got the links in the chat. And then finally, just always remember that at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.